Welcome to the Tarryn Reeves Show, where your journey to empowerment takes center stage. I'm your host, Tarryn Reeves, a best-selling author and publishing expert. Together, we'll dive into the hearts and minds of visionaries, disruptors, and trailblazing leaders to explore the most compelling and thought-provoking ideas in life, business, and marketing. Let's inspire, impact, and ignite. This is the Tarryn Reeves Show. Good morning. Good morning. We are streaming a very early morning session today from Australia, but not so much for my guest, Sterling. Sterling Mire is a renowned expert with over 20 years of experience in manifestation, life coaching, and psychology. Now, she has developed a unique art of manifestation, also known as the AOM System, which is a groundbreaking approach that empowers people to quickly master manifestation. And I think we can all do with a bit of that. Sterling is the founder of Get Your Life Now and has worked with prestigious clients like Google, People Magazine, and A-list celebrities. Her work has been featured on E! Entertainment and praised by OK Magazine. She has a book called The AOM System, Manifestation Mastery in 30 Days, and I will definitely be getting my copy for my collection. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and Sterling continues to coach clients globally. Sterling, it's an honor to have you. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Taryn. I really appreciate it.
It is my absolute pleasure. I couldn't think of a better way to spend my Saturday morning than chatting to you about what's a really important thing for us human beings, manifesting. And we were having a chat before, and you explained that manifesting is different to the law of attraction. Can you dive into that and break it down for us and explain what is manifesting? Why is it, or how is it different to the law of attraction?
It's really pretty simple because the law of attraction really emphasizes envisioning what it is that you want. If you're a basketball player, for instance, you may be using the law of attraction by imagining really getting that ball in the hoop and playing your best game. This is all law of attraction, which emphasizes the visualization, but manifesting is a little more intricate than that. Although you use visualization and manifesting, you're also creating, you also have a shift in your belief system as well as your philosophy in terms of how life works, what it is to be human, what it is to be a creative human being. There's 4 steps. So you're flowing through the 4 steps of manifesting, which involves number 1, an idea, number 2, having a desire emotional reaction that supports the idea. Number 3 is taking action, because that desire and that feeling, number 2, will actually create openings for taking action. And number 4 is the manifestation, the materialization of your original thought. There's intention involved. There's also the process of going through it is more clarified, if you will, than law of attraction. So I think what it does is it combines the law of attraction ideas and theories, but it builds on it. I've been studying this since I was 16 years old. I've been studying it my whole life. And what was the impetus for me even writing the book is that there's great knowledge out there. There's a lot of information. I've been studying it all that time, but it was very frustrating because something in me said there's a lot of truth here and I couldn't access it for myself. I used to have these funny little ideas in my head where I felt like, oh, I wish I could take these books and just find a way to open the top of my head and pour all that information in. It's impossible, right? But there was no way for me to really access and embody all of this great knowledge and benefit from it. And that's actually what caused me to write the book, the AOM System Manifestation Mastery, which is something I've been using for over 22 years. So I was thinking, like, doing the math, because it was like, actually I created it in 1998, but I didn't start sharing it with the world until 11 years ago. But it's been extraordinary and it totally works. It's whole and complete, because this is something that everybody, one way or another, really needs to in my opinion, embrace. Because think of it like this, we are creative beings. So wouldn't it behoove us to master the creative process of our own lives? We are leaders of our lives, we're creators of our lives. It seems like to me that would be the number one priority is to learn how to create all those things that you want and not the things that you don't want, because life is a series of those creations and experiencing those creations. You create and you experience, you create. It could be an idea, it could be a dish, it could be a song, it could be anything.
That's right. Amazing. Now, you mentioned that you started studying all this when you were 16 years old. I'm wondering what the catalyst was for that. Was there a particular moment? Is there a story there? What happened to you at 16 that you suddenly went, oh my gosh, I have to go and explore this amazing thing called manifestation?
I think really what it was as a young child, I can remember as far back as whatever, 5, 6, 7. I was always really enthusiastic about life. I was always curious and inquisitive, and I wanted to explore it. I wanted to discover it. And I really wanted to experience the fullest version of it. Now, I had a sense of this when I was a child. That kind of enthusiasm brought that sort of interest out of me. So when I became an adult, it's when I started realizing that there's not a lot of rhyme or reason. There's not a lot of logic going on with regards to why things are the way they are in the world. But what I noticed was that, okay, that exists, but it doesn't make sense. Why are those two people together? Why is that person doing this? How is this? None of it is really logical. There must be a reason, though. There must be something underneath it that's worth finding out in terms of how things are getting created, because it's not linear, it's not logical. This I was observing. So there's got to be some reason for it. So I was talking to my aunt about this very thing, and she's the one that actually recommended and got me the book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And she gave me that, and that's where it's all really started. And it started answering a lot of questions about this whole creative process. And I just never stopped studying from there.
I love that. And it sounds to me like you've got a very curious mind and that you approach life with a lot of curiosity about why things happen, how things happen. And it's obviously served you very, very well. And I love the fact that you just said that it all started with a book that your aunt gave you. Now, obviously, I own a publishing company. I live and breathe books for a living, but also I'm a massive book nerd, even when I'm not working. And that is the power of books. Right? It can literally change the course of someone's entire life without knowing the author, right? Have you had that experience with your own book when you put it out into the world?
That kind of impact on
Yes.
others? Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Mm.
it's changed people's lives. And I just remembered this review that was about that long about a woman who actually had my book, read my book, and attributed the book to her son escaping death. So it's a pretty amazing story, but she attributes the book and the knowledge and the tools that it gave her in order to heal her son who was on the brink of death. It really is extraordinary. But I credit her
Yes.
for being open to ideas and shifting her perspective and utilizing tools. And what she created with that helped save her son's life.
And I always say to people that imagine if your book just even changed one life or impacted one person. What a gift to give somebody, because that person would then go on to impact somebody else in some beautiful way. And then that person that they impacted will go and do the same. And it's these little lights going off in this beautiful ecosystem across the globe. And it all started at that one pinpoint of something that you were brave enough to share in the book. Now, you said that you wrote the book or you created the system, but it took you 11 years to then share it. I wonder why that was. I'm curious.
I created the system for myself
Mm,
to achieve the happiness and success that I sought. Again, it was all fueled by my curiosity, my drive, my ambition to live life fully and to understand how it works so that I could ensure that for myself, which then again led to creating the system. And that system I utilized in order to create anything that I wanted. I had an extraordinary career as a writer, songwriter, singer. I was on the BBC. I traveled all over the world. I manifested free black BMW convertibles. I manifested free European trips. And I manifested my career working with a major record label, things like that. But it was really interesting because I am such a healthy skeptic that even when I created the system, I tested it for 5 years with my
Mm,
own life. And then I logged all the results of 12 months. And then I logged the results of the next 12 months without the AOM system. And I saw such extreme differences. In other words, everything I wanted to happen happened within those 12 months when I used the system. When I didn't use it, nothing happened. But it was
yep.
like, again, such a healthy skeptic. I did this for 5 years before I could see these black and white differences. The
Yep.
contrast is unmistakable. Then I took on 15 people for a test group and like
Mm,
a blind study test group. And I wanted to see how that would work with them. And this was during a time when I was in the studio. So this was a great hobby of mine that really turned into a career. So I was in the studio and I was writing and recording. So I was there and I was able to lead this group for 12 months and log the results, which were incredible and extraordinary. And from there, they continued on without me because I had to go on tour. And I said, well, you're free and welcome to do whatever you would like to do at this point. And they continued on and they grew that group because it was so life changing.
Do you know what I love so much about this approach, Sterling, is that manifestation is such a buzzword in the spiritual world, just a thrown around thing, and everyone's apparently, I manifested this. I love that you have tested it on yourself. You've logged results over a 2 year period. You've done a test group. This is a proven system that you know works, which is obviously why you're so confident in fronting it. And thank you for doing the work to actually go, well, this works. Here you go. There's a lot of people out there that are just like, oh, I'm a manifestation coach. And you're like, what does that kind of mean? And unfortunately, the industry is very much like that, right? What do you think are some common misconceptions that you've seen over your 20 years of playing in this arena that people have about manifesting?
This is a great question because, first of all, the information that I've studied that other people are talking about, and we can go back a long time in history. I'll just go back 100 something years, right? With
Yeah.
the Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Then
Classic.
you have people like Deepak Chopra, you have Dr. Wayne Dyer, you have so many people talking on this, and now Jim Carrey talking about it. Here's the thing, this is nothing new. This
Mm.
is all information that's really been here since the beginning of time. It goes back so far. As far as we're concerned, it goes back then. But really, no, this is old information. As time rolls on, people are putting the same information in more modern terms, okay? But it doesn't change the same problem that I was having and that
Mm.
other people are having. And so many people have a problem with manifesting and say that it doesn't work because they don't have a system. That makes all the difference in the world. This system, I don't even credit myself for this system. I'm not perfect, but this system seems to be, because it's gotten 100% success rate with all of my clients. You use that system and couple it with my support in coaching, they always have 100% success rate. So the information itself is also flawless, but it's got to be put in a way that it's accessible, in a step by step way that it's accessible, because you learn from experience and
Yes.
concepts remain in a book. And it's great food for thought. It's great diet, thought food, right? It just doesn't change your life. That's the only problem because it remains a concept and we cannot learn without experience. That's what makes all the difference. And I tell people don't give up on manifesting. It absolutely does work. You just
Mm.
need not the knowledge, but the tools and something to apply, like a step by step, something that leads all the guesswork out. And that's what this is. And I say that because I'm an empath. I'm intuitive. I'm an empath. And I feel for people out there because I was that person
Yeah.
crying in my books, going, I wish I had this to say for myself. I wish I could live this and I can't figure out how to do it. So I
Mm.
was that person too.
So, would you say the AOM system is different from other manifestation modalities or techniques, whatever you want to call it, because it is a framework that if you follow the bouncing ball, if you follow step one, followed by step two, followed by step three, you will have results? Yeah.
There's a lot of trendy modalities out there. If
Yes.
you want to call it the 365 or 55 times 5, things that I've actually done videos on my YouTube channel. But there are some things out there. The problem is they're incomplete. They're not whole and complete. The AOM system is whole and complete. In other words, they're incomplete at one point or another. You're going to be stumped. You're not going to have the clarity. You're going to have failure. You're not going to be able to figure out how to move forward. You're going to hit what I call those dead ends where then you get frustrated and you give up. And you might even go, hey, I manifested this thing, it must work. And now I can't do it through this method that was working. I'm sure there's a lot of that out there. And then you get frustrated and you give up and you just overall feel like you failed at it. Well, the thing is that we're always manifesting and we're always creating. We're either doing it consciously or unconsciously. So I'm
Mhm.
not saying you can't manifest something without anything. You're manifesting all the time. It just may not be what you actually want. And that's the
Yeah.
difference. Because there was me sitting on my couch reflecting on my life and going, why is it that the good stuff that I want is so minuscule in comparison to all the things I don't want? There doesn't even seem to be a balance, let
Mm.
alone having just what I want. That would be amazing. I didn't even know that was possible until the system came through me. I used it. I've been doing it now 22, 23 years. So I think the jury's out. It does work. And I'm so grateful because I was very disappointed. I was upset. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was lost. I was confused. I really didn't want to be on this planet. I had a lot of issues and a lot of trauma. Who doesn't? Everybody does. Okay. So I'm not saying I'm special in that way, but I'm just saying that it's painful living a life like that. And I
Mm.
wanted to live a life that not only consisted of the things that I truly want, but I also wanted to end that kind of pain. And so through this system, yes, it does provide the happiness, the success that we all want, even though we all have our own different versions of
Mm.
happiness and success. Some people's success is doing what they love for a living, and some people's success is retiring on an island in Hawaii, whatever, right? So everybody's entitled to whatever their dream and desire is. And the way I see it is that if you have a desire, that is your destiny. You're here to fulfill on that purpose. That is yours. It's got your name on it, but you have free will and you can take yourself off path and you can delay or you can stunt the growth in your life that you were always intended for. But nobody wants to do that, but that's what we do. We
Yeah.
exercise that free will and we get in our own way because we don't know any other way around it. We just don't have that clarity. We don't have the tools. We don't have the path. But we're all here to live this glorious life by discovering what our purpose is and flourishing in it and being creative inside of that purpose, which does create abundance and all wonderful things in our lives because we're honoring ourselves. We're aligned with the truth of ourselves. And when we do that, it's what I call being authentic, and therefore everything shows up that is authentic. And life is a win win, and life is heaven on earth kind of experience for yourself and others. When we all we need is this, there is no lack. When
Mm.
we work with this, and we just concern ourselves with this, all of this around us transforms, and that we need to just get all this stuff working and then we'll be okay. Now it's just here, and then it shows
Yeah.
up beautifully around us.
I love that so much because it's a remembering of how powerful you are as a creative being. And it's a choice to manifest consciously. It gives us back that choice and that power, whereas we may tend to forget that. And a perfect example is this: you roll out of bed in the morning, and I do this all the time, so guilty, put my hand up. I roll out of bed in the morning. I haven't had much sleep because my 1 year old's kept me up most of the night, and I'm in a bad mood because I'm tired, and everything starts to go wrong from there. That is subconsciously manifesting. I'm going, oh, I'm so tired and I'm in a bad mood, and then one of the kids will spill their drink, and then we're running late for school, and then there's traffic, and then my mood just gets gradually worse, and those thoughts start going around like, oh, this is just such a shit day. What is going on? What is wrong with these people? And then I usually get halfway through the day and I go, whoa, no wonder everything's going wrong. Look at your state of mind. Like, you are choosing to stay in this energy. How about we go, actually, you know what? Let's write off the morning. That was not great. But how are we going to move into the afternoon? And it's that remembering to go, oh, well, hang on, I have a choice. So the beautiful thing about manifestation is it puts you back in the driver's seat of your purpose, of your life, of your mission, of whatever it is that you're trying to do with yourself. And I think that's such a gift that whatever created us has allowed us access to.
And I love what you said about things going in the wrong direction and how it would gain this momentum and everything would worsen and it would just continue that way, right? Which is very interesting because you are that powerful that you can create that. You got to think, what if I created that, but
Yeah.
that which consisted of what I wanted?
Yeah.
And use that same power within you to create, but apply it to only that which you truly want. Well, that would
Mm.
be extraordinary. I've had clients tell me, my kids are different. They were so crazy and chaotic in the morning, and everything was a nightmare because we're talking about children in the morning and stuff. And then
Mhm.
they say like, now they're like, Mom, do you want me to make you breakfast? I cleaned my room. And they're like, who are these kids? And why are
Yeah.
they like this? And I said, because you transformed. And you have no idea how powerful you are. We don't know how powerful we are. We think we're powerless. We see our life, oh, it's hopeless, it's powerless. I'm just like, I want and I try and I want and I try. And it's like, no, but it's not about wanting and trying.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That person was just, I'm talking to my old former self too. And I'm talking to those people out there that might be feeling that way. It's just, you need some tools, you need some knowledge, you need a roadmap because I feel that frustration. I understand it's more than just desire, and it's more than just saying, I try and do everything right. I'm a good person, and still my life, that's a horrible feeling to have.
Yeah.
But it's only because that knowledge and that information and those tools are missing. And it's just this, that small modification can change your entire life. That's
Mm.
why I'm passionate about what I'm talking about because I know that there's an answer and it's much more easier and accessible than people realize. But
Yeah.
because wouldn't it be beautiful, Taryn, if the whole world was thriving in their purpose and it was this heaven on earth experience for everybody? And
Yeah.
there's no lack. There's just this incredible purpose and contribution that all like flows in this symbiotic kind of energy, this sort of dance in life. And I believe right now, this particular moment, 2024, was a lot about evolving as people and discovering ways that work and getting rid of the old structures that don't work anymore and getting to what does work. But guess what happens before that shift? We come up with a lot of challenges. We have a lot of chaos. We have a lot of endings and things like that happening in our lives because it's all in step with letting go of what doesn't work and welcoming in what does work, right? So if your world consisted of your, let's just use your a house for an analogy to represent your life. and this house is decrepit and it doesn't work and it leaks and it's problematic, and we're all over the world aware of what's not working in the world. We're all very clear about that. All of us are. This just does not work, right? So there you are in this house that just doesn't work, and it maybe worked at some other time, maybe 100 or 200 years ago or 50 years ago or whatever, but it just doesn't. It's time for it to like be raised. It's time for it to be taken apart, dismantled, and discarded of and build
Mm.
something new. Well, that process is, it's work and it's a little uncomfortable and it's change and it's letting go of stuff that we got attached to. Well, there's this, that, this, and that I like about the house and everything. But if you have, the whole process can be a lot easier, of course, if you have the tools and the knowledge, and you also know that the house that you're going to build is going to be much better, more appropriate, much functioning on this higher level. It's just going to be beautiful and perfect. And that's the opportunity that those challenges bring us. So it's time for us to grow, and people don't like change.
They
But we
eat
change
mind.
our clothes, we change our underwear, I hope. We change the foods we eat, we change the channel. So we're not that foreign from
No.
change. We can expand on our love of change.
Mm. I
And
like
it's
that
not the
concept. Expand on your love of change because that's what the opportunities are, right?
Well, yeah, the thing is about change, people don't like the unknown about change. When you're manifesting, you know where you're going.
Do you know
And it's
what I love
wonderful.
so much about that knowing of manifestation is that you have to literally believe within your very core being that it's going to happen. Like there's that knowing. And I feel like for me, I don't know your system, but that's always the final piece for me. And the only thing I'm going to be completely honest that I actually, how do I word this? The only thing that I manifest on the regular without fail is car parking spaces in front of where I want to be. And I joke with my daughter who's 8, we call them the parking ferries. And I'm always, we're on our way to where we're going. I'm like, all right, let's ask the parking ferries. There's going to be a park right out the front. And I let go and surrender and I go, I know that there is a car park for me out the front. And I think it's been once that there hasn't been one. It's laughable how it happens every single time. And we always go, "Oh, thanks, parking fairies," is what we call it, just as a joke with the kids. But that's such a simple example. But every time I go, "Oh, there's going to be a park," and then I'm in that mood, I'm in that bad space, and it's like other things are going on, and then there's no park, and I'm like, oh, why? Why is there no park? What do you believe is going on in that experience? Because you're the expert here. I'm just someone who dabbles.
It's great that you brought that up because it's more common than you realize, but it is an
Mm,
experiment and experience at both the same Latin root word. I love both of them. Because when we conduct an experiment, we create an experience and an outcome. Okay. And in your case, your experiment was, I'm going to say, I have a great parking space. The parking ferry is going to provide, right? And
mm,
this is something that you experienced initially with a certain level of truth and belief that it is true,
yes.
right? And then it just built on itself until now it's just a certainty. It's gone
Mm,
beyond a possibility. It's gone beyond a belief. It's just gotten into that which is a certainty.
yes.
And there's just don't doubt it. There it is. But it's a perfect example, and it's no different. If you're going to manifest a parking spot, you can manifest your soulmate, you can
Mm,
manifest your dream job, you can manifest money and homes and free European vacations like I did. What I'm saying here is that those limitations are self created, they don't actually exist. They
mm,
do not exist. They only exist if we say so. So, you manifesting a parking space is no different than manifesting a soulmate or a free black BMW convertible or a dream job or millions and billions of dollars, whatever. It's the same. The only difference is that we have created this idea that that's a big deal, that's a little deal,
Mm.
that's hard, that's easy. But we
Yeah.
have to really be willing to let those beliefs go away. When I work with people, the first thing we do is get rid of what I call constraints and limitations. That's a constraint, that's a limitation that is self created. And because we created it, we've proven it's true over and over, but it's not true. It just happened that way because we said so, because we
Mhm.
created it to be that way. Oh, that's hard. You're going to have the experience that that's hard only because you said so. When I'm doing yoga, I like to play with what I'm talking about here because when I get to do the tree pose, like, pull my leg up way high on the thigh, and I'm standing there and I'm so wobbly, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fall. I was like, oh, and I do. And
Yes.
then I go, okay, let's watch this, watch this. All right. And I
Mhm.
get back in a position and I go, I got this. You got this. I got this. You got this. Whatever. Right. You got this. You got this. I don't fall. I
Yeah.
don't fall. Happens every time. And I
Mm.
like to play with that and also remember that how powerful that is. And I
Yes.
go, look at this. I mean, I'm proving it to myself and I'm just observing it. I'm not pushing it. I'm not causing, I'm not making it happen that way. You know what I mean? Because actually, it's not like I can make myself wobbly and I can make myself balanced
Yes.
without creating it. Do you
Yeah.
understand? That's what I meant to say. Without creating it,
Exactly.
like that is purely from creation. So I emphasize this because I really would love for people to recognize how powerful they are. And when you take responsibility for that power, you're not only creating incredibly incredible things for yourself, but you're also helping others. When you reclaim that power and you're taking responsibility for it, this is a transformed planet as soon as we do that.
Mm.
And it's easy to say, no, that I did not create that
Yeah.
because I was so nice. Yeah, I talk about this in my book. I'm sitting at the light, red light, right? And I'm singing a song and I'm super happy and I get rear ended,
Mm.
right? I did not create that. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. How would I have created that? I'm happy. I'm not being negative. That was something, that was a question a long, long time ago. And what I discovered was that it went back to the sentence I created, the truths I created about myself, which happened when my stepfather entered into the picture and my mom remarried. And this guy was always giving me a hard time or whatever, right? So what did I do? I said to myself, I'm that person. I'm that person where I do things the right way or I am innocent. Bad things happen to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize until, doing this work that that was what I had created and what was dictating my whole life. And
Mm.
once I realized that's how well, it's a perfect statement for getting rear-ended.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm sitting in the light. It's perfect for my story. I'm a good person and bad things are happening to me and I'm doing the best I can or whatever, right? There it is. And that's exactly why and how I created that. And
Mm.
once I discovered it and transformed it, never happened again
Yeah.
where I would have some weird occurrence like that.
Mm. So it was your underlying subconscious belief that you'd created years and years and years before that was still lying there and subconsciously manifesting these other things around you, right? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. I created it then
Yes.
and I believed it.
Yes.
And I guess that's just how my life goes, or that's the way it shows up. That must be the way it is. That's what's been happening. That must be the way it is. That's what I believe, right? And then from there, I kept having strange occurrences where I'm like, see, again, I just was being so innocent and with good intentions, totally, I'm a victim, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a victim because I'm doing all that and these bad things are happening to me. And it's frustrating, it's upsetting, But there it is. And then it keeps getting created. I had no idea I was creating this.
Mm.
So when that got transformed, I never felt like a victim in life anymore because those things stopped happening to me.
Yes.
They
Well, nothing's
stopped.
really happening to you, is it? Everything's happening for you. You have the option to change your perspective on that.
Yeah, well, of course. So I transformed that belief
Mm.
into I'm an awesome person and happy and wonderful things happen for me all the time. Gratitude is abundant. I'm abundant. Everything is wonderful. Whatever.
Mm.
There's a lot of things that I create, but that's my general belief now compared to what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Would
And
you say that a key part of the manifestation process is being willing to stay in that, what I would call playful experimentation stage of your manifestation?
I always say, have fun. When you conduct this work as an experiment, it helps you to take the over significance out of the equation and it gives you access to create and play.
Yeah.
Create and play. Don't those almost sound like the same words? Well, they should be because we're creating all the time and that is play. And it's a falsehood that any of this is overly significant, that work has to be hard, that life has to be hard, that it's play is rare. We know people that have lived extraordinary lives where they look like their job is play. They're having so much fun. I mean, look at stand up comedians, they seem to
Yes.
be having a pretty good time, right? They're being playful, right? There's no reason why we can't do that regardless if you're stay-at-home mom or you're an accountant or even if you're a lawyer or doctor. Robin Williams did the film, Patch
Yeah.
Williams, being that doctor who's always having fun around dying children, right? So there's
Mm.
no excuse for ever being too significant. In fact, we really want to be both significant and insignificant at the same time, which is harmony. It's like ego and spirit coexisting at the same time. We want balance with the two contrasts. And a lot of people ask, why do we even have to have these? If life is meant to be this heaven on earth kind of experience, so why do we have all these undesirable things? I call them because there's nothing really bad or wrong in the world, but I call it undesirable.
Yeah.
And that's because it needs to exist. Doesn't have to exist in your world, but it needs to exist somewhere in the world so that you have it as a comparison. You need the contrast for something to exist,
Mm. You can't have
right?
the light without the dark. That kind of a concept.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Because
you
then you wouldn't know
it's
what light is because it would just be your thing all the time.
yeah,
Mm.
it would cease to even exist.
Mm.
They talk about that in the book, right? If you have 72 degrees Fahrenheit, weather, beautiful, right? Perfect, ideal day, 24/7. And then somebody said, this is beautiful weather. You'd be like, what is that? There
Mm.
is no such thing as weather because this is all I know. This is all I've ever known.
Yes.
I I can't experience the beauty of this day, this
And that would
weather.
be so sad, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
no, we do need to lighten up. We take life way too seriously. This is a game, it's a party, it's an
Yeah.
amusement park. Go have fun, ride the rides, enjoy. It's
They
gonna be a
play.
short it's gonna be a short trip anyways. It doesn't matter if you're 150 or you're 50 or you're 25, it's all short.
Yeah.
So don't take it too seriously. Enjoy it and have fun and don't worry. These times we're in, people are very tense. It's a lot of change, it's unpredictability. And that's why I say throw yourself in manifesting. Because if you're manifesting your life, you have nothing to fear. My clients say, I don't even fear death
Mhm.
anymore. They're
Yeah. Beautiful.
fearless about life. And then, therefore, that's when the real fun begins.
Oh gosh, I love the perspective, and what a beautiful way to start my day, Sterling. Thank you so much. That concept of create and play. Go out and have fun. Don't take things too seriously. Stay in that playful experimentation, and you have a choice to manifest whatever it is that you want. And what a powerful tool to have in your belt as a human being in this time, I guess, in any time.
Mm.
Now, before we go, we have a tradition on this podcast called the book drop, where I want to know what book or maybe two books have changed or impacted your life. And we've spoken about a few books already in this conversation, but maybe one that's really impacted your life on a personal level or even a professional level.
It's a little bit like saying, what's your favorite song? But I will say this, I have, and this is something a lot of people don't know about me, but I have a real passion for autobiographies.
Wow. Okay.
Autobiographies, not biographies, but
Hmm.
autobiographies,
Yeah,
right?
'cause there's a big difference.
And I love hearing people's stories through these autobiographies because they've lived this extraordinary life that is worth documenting, worth reading, worth exploring. And I also love it because I can see how different these people are, but the commonalities, they're all
Mm.
brilliant at manifesting. And I also discovered it's usually three ways. They either came into the world with this intuitive knowing about manifesting and nobody knocked it out of them,
Mm.
or they had this extraordinary families that told them how extraordinary they were and how they could do anything and make any dream come true. So this incredible brainwashing.
Yeah.
Or they're like in the third category, which is Phyllis Diller, who is a famous comedian. I love her story because she's the third manifester or way of, okay, backing up, of these people that I've read about in autobiographies, right? And they fit into those three categories. You may not know who she is, but really short story on her. She was a housewife in the 50s. I want to say late 50s, like 55, 58. And her husband could never keep a job. And she had five children and one with special needs.
Mm.
And so that was her situation at 38 years old. Now, 38 years old back then was like 50,
Yeah. It
six.
was
I mean, it's up
considered
there.
all. Yes.
It's a whole different world, right? Like back then. So there she was, and she got this part-time job because her husband could never hold down a job. And she saw The Magic of Believing, which was written in the 50s, on her boss's bookshelf. And she took it and she read it and she poured herself into it and
Mhm.
became one of the first famous female stand-up comedians at a time when it was completely dominated by men. There were
Wow.
virtually no female stand-up comedians back then. And she did all that, and then she wrote her book when she was 88, and she spent
Wow.
a whole chapter talking about the magic of believing and manifesting and how she manifested her life and how she continues to manifest her life. It's a beautiful story, and I think that imagine the obstacles she had,
Yeah.
but that willpower, that drive, that passion, coupled with that information in that book and she was unstoppable. She made it happen. And everybody can do that. You
Yeah.
know, everybody can do that. And most people don't have those kind of circumstances, but even if you did, you can still do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I've never heard of her, but it's definitely a story that I would like to read, and I'm sure the people watching and listening are gonna be like, "Oh, I need to jump on that." So, Sterling, thank you so much for your time, and I have gained so much from speaking to you, and I know the listeners and watchers will as well. I am going to pop all of your links if you guys want to go and play with Sterling. Get the AOM system happening, because who doesn't need that in their life? Who doesn't want that in their life? And those will all be available in the show notes. Sterling, thank you so much for spending your time with me today.
Thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much, Taryn. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you love the insights and inspiration, don't let it end here. Hit subscribe to stay connected and turn your visions into reality alongside our community of changemakers. I'm Tarryn Reeves. Thank you for joining me. And remember, your story has power. See you in the next episode.